Okay, this story, another crazy shocker, and this is in reference to Ukraine. So shout out to Norm. Norm Finkelstein actually sent me this article, and he said you might want to cover this, and he was right. So a while back, we did discuss that some of the weapons that the U.S. was sending to Ukraine actually ended up in countries in Africa, right? And interesting considering Africa decided to remain neutral in reference to this conflict. But some of the weapons ended up there. I don't think that's an accident. I'm sorry. Call me a Debbie Downer. I just don't think that's an accident. I think that could be intentional, right? Get them to rise up against their own people in countries in Africa. Well, now it appears those weapons may have ended up in more dangerous hands. I want to bring up this article here. It says revealed Russian neo-Nazi leader obtained UK missiles in Ukraine. Missiles, not guns. Okay. Sergei acquired anti-tank launchers from Britain despite being accused of beheading a migrant when he led a neo-Nazi group in Russia. UK supplied weapons have reached a range of far-right forces in Ukraine, our investigation finds. This is coming from Phil Miller. So let's go on. This is bad. This is crazy shit. I'm gonna make it just a little bit. There we go. You guys make sure you share this with people because I don't think a lot of people know about this. A neo-Nazi accused of murdering immigrants has filmed himself in possession of 5 anti-tank rockets that Britain supplied to Ukraine. An investigation by Declassified UK has found. So you see some of these other, like even more dangerous weapons ending up in the hands of the wrong people. Sergei can be seen with UK-made missile launchers in 3 videos posted to his Telegram channel. Campaign Against Arms Trade said the discovery is very troubling. It adds to evidence that some weapons sent by Britain to Ukraine have ended up in the hands of extremist forces. This is what we were trying to warn people that could happen. Thank you for that soundbite there, Bryce. Lakers up by 5. Declassified recently uncovered another case where a jihadist convicted of torture had received UK missiles. Here's the pic. This is crazy and dangerous. So let's go on. The revelations do not justify Vladimir Putin's claim that his illegal invasion is denazifying Ukraine. The Kremlin has neo-Nazis among its own troops, and Ukraine's president Vladimir Zelensky is Jewish. But while Russian forces have rightly received significant scrutiny in the UK media, there has been scant coverage of who exactly in Ukraine is receiving Britain's multi-billion-pound arms package. On Monday, Rishi Sunak pledged hundreds more missiles and armed drones in a meeting with Zelensky at Shakir's. National Socialist Society. Declassified has been investigating Sergei, who is originally from Belarus. Now, remember, when I told you about the new rules for the Boston Marathon here, that they banned athletes from Russia and Belarus. And it was very last minute. They sent that shit out like a week and a half before the race. So just keep that in mind. Around 20 years ago, he founded a Russian neo-Nazi group, the National Socialist Society. It spread fear in Moscow by targeting darker-skinned guest workers from the Caucasus and Central Asia. The group was banned, and its members convicted of dozens of racist murderers. Korotkikh is alleged to have killed 2 migrants in 2007, beheading one of its victims, Shamil Atamanov, on camera beneath a swastika blah, 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 swastika flag. And this is the person who has received these weapons. Telling you, man. He denies the allegations, which featured in the multi-award winning documentary Credit for Murder by Israeli director Vladi Antonovich. So Korotkikh, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, was even reported to have links to Russian intelligence and police who may have recruited him as an agent shortly after the killings. He would not be charged with murder until 2021, by which time he had long since left the country. Listen to this. Defending Ukraine. His past in Russia did not stop him from being welcome to Ukraine. He moved there in 2014 when the country was split over its relationship with Moscow. He joined the Azov Battalion. Here we go. He joined the Azov Battalion, a neo-Nazi militia founded by Ukrainian far-right activist Andrei Beletsky to fight against pro-Russian separatists in the Donbass. Beletsky reported once said he wanted to lead the white races of the world in a final crusade against Semite-led subhumans. This is really crazy. He quickly acquired Ukrainian citizenship in a ceremony conducted by the then president Petro Poroshenko. Meanwhile, the Azov Battalion was integrated into Ukraine's National Guard. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the majority of Azov serving soldiers were surrounded at their stronghold in Mariupol. Azov veterans in other cities rapidly formed new units, including elite sections within the Territorial Defense Force, TDF, in the capital, Kyiv, which Korotkikh joined. TDFs allowed reservists and volunteers to resist Russia and paramilitary-style groups normally under the control of Ukraine's military. On the day the invasion began, he said he had enough small arms, but would like to get something anti-tank and something heavy, and preferably a couple of dozen man-pads, that's portable surface to air missile launchers, so that their helicopters do not want to fly here. Anticipating the outbreak of the war, British ministers had hurriedly sent Ukraine thousands of NLAWs, a sophisticated anti-tank weapon. They cost around 20,000 pounds each and can even target aircraft. He initially had trouble finding them. He complained, "I have been running around the city since 9 a.m. in an attempt to get weapons, but they didn't arrive anywhere. They are none of the much vaunted British anti-tank systems at all. I can't find a trace of them. They are not here." But within 2 weeks of the invasion, some of these missiles were in his arsenal. On March 6, 2022, he posted a video of him traveling inside a van with 2 NLAWs at his feet. Here's a photo here. He wrote, "We have so many weapons that we are literally littered with shells and rockets. There is, of course, a special buzz when you literally ride the NLAW." On camera, he described having NLAWs as incomparable male pleasure. A few hours later, he posted a scene from the movie Hot Fuzz, where police find farm shed full of weapons. He commented, "In every house in Ukraine after every war," with a grinning emoji. He appears to have used a Kyiv sports club as his arms depot, posting a video the next day. The 2 NALWs propped up against the wall behind him. By the end of March, footage shows he had at least 5 of them stored in a gym. Throughout this time, he posted gruesome and racist messages on Telegram. In one, he shared a photo of a severed head in a crate, writing, "The Ukrainians, unlike the Russian command, are trying to return Putin soldiers to their families." It is not always possible to return the whole thing, but nevertheless. In another video addressed to Chechen troops deployed by Putin to invade Ukraine, he said, "We will play football with your heads when we cut them off." Boy, I tell you. Other posts, he was criticizing Russia for allegedly using Arab mercenaries from Syria and black cannon fodder from the Central African Republic. Kievan Rus against the Asian horde. The masks have been dropped. This only makes it easier for real white Europeans to fight. So this is why it kills me for the people who try to say there are no Nazis in Ukraine, or the people who try to say that, no, this isn't true. It's been documented. Let's go on. The Post confirmed that his hatred of Russian minorities has persisted, viewing the war in Ukraine as a battle for white supremacy. I hope everybody sees this. You see this? Viewing the war in Ukraine as a battle for white supremacy. I thought it was supposed to be about protecting the Ukrainian people, right? In other photos on Telegram, which has 55,000 subscribers, he can be seen wearing a black sun symbol originally from Nazi Germany on his body armor. See, these are the types of things where the people who are continuing to defend the US sending them billions of dollars, it's this type of message that I feel like they're either ignoring or they're making excuses for it. You know, anytime you tell someone, oh, it's only a little bit of Nazis there, mother, what? Or anytime you pretend like it doesn't exist, what? And some people are doing that. Some people are doing that. Not good enough. The NLAWs in his arsenal can be traced back to those supplied by Britain, and they list the reference numbers here. It says it matches codes printed on other crates that Ukrainian media said were delivered by the UK in February 2022. The only other country known to have supplied them to Ukraine was Luxembourg, which sent 100, a tiny fraction of the 5,000 shipped from Britain. So you can see there's the unit there. Well. Partially observed writing on the boxes are another reference code. So they mention those. That's how they can tell where they came from. And then here it says a Saab spokesperson said there is extensive export legislation in both Sweden and the UK which govern our activities and which we adhere to. We are not providing further comment on individual matters. And this piece here, even if you fully support exporting arms to Ukraine in light of the brutal Russian attack, there is also the need to acknowledge the risk involved. Arms ending up in the hands of criminals is one of them. The risk that arms will flow out of Ukraine to other armed conflicts or into criminal activities once that war stops is real and must be addressed. And that is very important because once this is all over, it's not like the weapons just disappear. Look at who's getting them. What are they going to do? EOK says everything is planned. It's just, it's like it's almost like an all-out war that they want with others as well. And it says here, the UK government must set out clearly what it is doing to prevent diversion of weapons supplied to Ukraine, which will likely become a far greater problem for Ukraine and the rest of Europe when this horrific war eventually ends. And that being said, it continues here. I'm not going to read the entire article, but Eric, you can put the link in the chat for people to see it. It continues to say that Azov grows. Despite Putin claiming to denazify Ukraine, Azov affiliated units have spread since his illegal invasion. But people aren't talking about that. Well, not everybody. Some people are talking about it. But this is a problem. This is a problem. I'm going to go to some of the comments, Eric. If you can find, Eric, remember that letter? You may not be able to find it. Let me see if I can find it in my Gmail. There was that letter that was sent, that was signed by Congress, where they said they were concerned about the growing presence of Nazis in Ukraine. Let me see if I can find it. I know Roger Meadows has it because I sent it to Roger Meadows. I just don't know if Roger remembers where he put it, just like I don't remember where I put it. JB says, watch them end up in Sudan. I'm telling you, it's almost like I told you about those bricks that were outside of the stores in Fayetteville, North Carolina, that were just put there like the night before the protest started the next day. They just were put there, egging people on. Teresa, like all wars, it's got to be evil and do evil. There you go. And thank you for the super chat, Roger. A little bit of Nazis, so why give them money for them to grow? This is the piece, like when people, the argument that people make is like, no, we will still send money to Ukraine. I'm like, are you ignoring what's happening? This is a problem. Big problem. You found it. This is the letter, guys. This is the letter. This letter was written April 23rd, 2018. And this letter, you got to remember who signed this. Rokana signed this. See, Rokana right there. This is the part. Oh, Roger sent it. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Roger. This is the part you need to see. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this part right here. We write to express our dismay about recent reports of state-sponsored Holocaust distortion and denial taking place in Europe, particularly in Poland and Ukraine. These developments are unacceptable, especially given today's global surge of anti-Semitism. This part right here. We urge you to join us in human rights organizations in standing against anti-Semitism, xenophobia, and all forms of intolerance by calling for the Polish and Ukrainian governments to unequivocally reject Holocaust distortion and the honoring of Nazi collaborators to fully prosecute anti-Semitic crimes. I didn't write this letter. And yet our politicians will tell us, what are you talking about? There are no Nazis in Ukraine. This is why Google exists. You can find these things. So here we go. One more piece here that I want to mention. This piece about Ukraine. Ukraine's 2015 memory laws went even further by glorifying Nazi collaborators and making it a criminal offense to deny their heroism. Their heroism, guys. So this letter tells you that in Ukraine, they were considering these people to be heroes. But there's no Nazis in Ukraine. Let's move on. This piece here. However, unlike the Polish law, this move by the government in Kyiv has received little to no public response from the United States. The groups and individuals extolled by Ukraine include Nazi collaborators, Stepan Bandera, Roman Shehevik, and the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, as well as the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. So this letter, look at this, in particularly troubling that much of the Nazi glorification in Ukraine is government supported. I wish on Dropbox I could circle. Oh, there's a full screen option? Well, damn. Anywho, You see this? The Nazi glorification in Ukraine is government supported. But these same politicians will tell you there's no Nazis in Ukraine. Who signed this letter? It's long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I read it on here before. I want to show you who signed it, though. Oh, looky there. Ro Khanna. Just point out some of the people that you might know. Adam Smith. Mark Pocan. Jamie Raskin. Pramila Jayapal. Let's go on. There's more. Look, and all these people try to tell you they don't know. They're like, oh no, they don't have that Nazi problem in Ukraine. Ted Lieu and his whack ass. I'm sorry. Excuse me. He's just so lame. I really do not like Ted. He's so lame. Let's see. Sheila Jackson Lee. I told you. They all knew. Tulsi Gabbard signed it. At least Tulsi's still saying the same thing in reference to this. You see all the names. Look at all of them. All of them. Now, this letter was written April 23rd, 2018. And it was sent to John Sullivan, Deputy Secretary at that point in time. So, they knew all along. And they're all lying to you. Sorry. Okay, thanks. All right, let's go ahead and get that. Looks like we're getting a link to this document so you guys can see it. This is why Google exists. This is why Google exists. This is why Google exists. I'm telling you. Oh, no, there's no, especially Ro Khanna. Oh, there's no problem with Nazis in Ukraine, and I support Joe Biden, and I think the president's doing a great job. Well. Thank you for the super chat, Seeking Freedom. Let us never forget, every Democrat politician supports this. Marianne Williamson supports this. Bernie Sanders supports this because they vote how they vote and stay silent. Bingo. Thank you for the super chat, Sparky. Zelensky's mother isn't Jewish, so he's not Jewish. To be born Jewish, mom must be Jewish. His dad is Jewish. Oh, propaganda claims he's Jewish to shield Ukrainian Nazis. I did not know that. I didn't realize that. So I guess then Lenny Kravitz technically can't say that he is either, right? I guess he wouldn't be able to say that he's half or technically half then because his mom wasn't, but his dad was. This is interesting, Sparky. I'm learning new things from you guys. Bryce says Jose confronted Jayapal about this too. I know Jose is everywhere. Kit, her outstanding work, Sabby Sabs. Hi, Kit. And Simone says they have amnesia now, right?